should not continue, needs to seek medical referral. Cool, so there's HHQ, that's a health history questionnaire. Again, like the PARQ, it is a questionnaire. It goes into much more detail than the PARQ. It covers current and past history, family history, looks to see if the person's like disability or suffers from any medical conditions, any past injuries, things like that. Also looks at lifestyle factors, so a person's diet, smoking status, how much alcohol intake. So it goes into much more detail about somebody's personal life and their medical history as well. It can consist as many questions as possible. Probably the more there is, the better. You can go into more depth, but you don't want to bore the client when they're doing it. And like the PARQ, because it's got sensitive information on there, it has to be data protected. So some strengths and weaknesses, like I said, it's more detailed than a PARQ. It goes into much more detail. Because it goes into more detail, it takes more time to complete. Again, is a subjective way of collecting information. So again, people can determine things different ways. So that can affect the answers on the sheet and may not reflect things perfectly. There is room for human error there. It can help the instructor tailor the session to the participant because they find out more information about the participant, the sort of sports they're doing, things like that, the sort of physical activity and stuff they're used to. It can also highlight any potential risks or problems with the lifestyle, such as a smoker, or someone who drinks excessive amounts of alcohol, or maybe just someone who does a job that is very high intensity, or just sits at a desk all day and doesn't do much physically. So the informed consent form is used to inform the participant of benefits, risks, and their rights during sessions, or any sort of testing or anything like that. It also highlights their right to withdraw from the actual session at any point. There's no mandatory thing saying they have to do it all the time. Highlights that they're required to report any chest pains, dizziness or shortness of breath to the instructor straight away. And it also needs to be signed by the participant and the instructor. So strengths and weaknesses. One, it's not a questionnaire. So it's going to be the same every single time. You don't have to analyse the results or anything afterwards or evaluate anything. It literally is the same. People sign it and agree to what's on there. Highlights the risks to the client, and it also helps cover the instructor legally because they've agreed to them terms that know the risks and also their rights during the session. Because of this being a document, some people actually just don't read it, they sign at the bottom. So that can cause them to come back and complain, but they've actually signed something that they haven't read first. It doesn't actually collect any information about the client, it just informs them of the session. So, health screening tests. So there's 4 different types of tests that we'll look at. There's the peak flow, waist to hip ratio, resting heart rate, and blood pressure. So health tests are static in nature. They're done in a static position. It's not to get the heart rate raised or anything like that. It's not a fitness test. It's literally a test to see if they are, again, okay to participate in physical activity, or even a fitness test or something. So strengths and weaknesses of this one. Unlike the other lot, it is objective rather than subjective. So these are results that the instructor will see themselves, or the person carrying out the test will see, rather than the opinion of the people filling out the forms and stuff. Conditions can be difficult to replicate because 1 week you might be doing a blood pressure test and someone have a watch on one arm, they might do it on the next arm. Getting the person's diet the same every day is completely different, so it can be difficult to replicate. So getting very similar results all the time can be hard, but it can be repeated to give more accurate results. It can be done once every day, it can be done 3 or 4 times throughout the day, it can be done once every hour. No forms have to be filled in, but the results are measurable. So you can actually measure for improved health throughout a series of programs, like a fitness program or something like that. So the peak flow is designed to measure lung function. It's used to get a hypothetical reading of lungs' maximum power, because you can't breathe in for a full minute, full power. After 15-20 seconds you're going to start going lightheaded. So this is a hypothetical reading of how powerful the lungs could actually be. But it can be used to identify any respiratory problems like asthma. So the way you do it, you'd hold the peak flow meter right in front of you. You'd use a cardboard tube for sanitation reasons, so you're not passing on germs and bacteria to other people. Form a tight seal with your lips around the peak flow meter and blow as hard as possible into the meter, and you can repeat it 3 to 5 times to just take the highest result. You're looking for the maximum amount of oxygen that can pass through the lungs, not the average amount. Cool, so the normative data, it looks at three different what's the word? Sections maybe. Basically it depends on a person's age, their gender and their height. So they can all be attributed factors to the outcome and result. Now any result 100 below classifies as poor, and some resources have said anything below 100 should be thinking about referral to a GP. Definitely over 150 or 200 is a massive cause for concern. So some strengths and weaknesses. Big strength of it is small and it's portable. You can take it everywhere. An asthmatic person can take it with them throughout the day to check how the lungs are functioning. And it's easy to replicate. You stood up and you blow as hard into a machine. As long as you stood up when you're using it, you're not sat down. It's very simple. It's cheap to use. If it's a person using it the whole time themselves and no one else is using it, they don't even have to buy little cardboard tubes. Now it does allow for human error. If a person isn't using it correctly, they're not forming a tight seal with their lips, then there's air going in all different types of direction and not all going into the peak flow meter. Can be done very quickly. It only takes a few minutes to do it 2 or 3 times. But it's not as accurate as a machine. It does allow for human error, like I said. A spirometry meter would be a more accurate reading, but that becomes more expensive and difficult to do throughout the day. Has to be done in a standing position, and if done incorrectly, with the lack of use of the cardboard tubes, it can pass illnesses to and from other clients. So the waist to hip measurement is used to measure body mass. It helps to detect obesity, which is helping to detect risk of heart disease, basically. So what you do is you use a tape measure, you'd measure around the circumference of the waist, looking around the belly button region, and then you look for the circumference of the hip, looking at the widest part of the hip. Then divide the waist measurement by the hip measurement. That score gives you your body mass reading. So the normative data, after dividing the waist by the hip, the number you're left with is the score. Anything over 1 for a man is referable to a GP, and anything over 0.9 for a woman is referable to a GP. Now some of the strengths and weaknesses, like the peak flow meter, it is allowing for human error. It's very simple not to get the tape measure tight around someone. It can be done by anyone, however if it's not done properly, again you don't get an accurate reading. Again, it's easy to replicate. You can keep a roll of tape measure in your pocket and do it throughout the day if you need to. Doesn't take into account muscle mass, so someone who is quite muscular in the gym all the time, who works the core, could be a bit wider. Someone who works their obliques, that can make them wider as well. It looks at the waist and not other areas of the body. So one of the first places fat starts to store is the body. However, if you have fat starting to store on your elbows and other places where you can check with a BMI test, then you're at more risk of a heart disease. It basically doesn't look at key areas, it just looks at the waist. Doesn't really take into account food intake. If you eat throughout the day, your stomach swells. If you've had a drink before you do the test, your stomach's going to be more full, which means the reading's going to be completely different, which again makes it hard to replicate, to get accurate results each time. And again, has to be in a standing position. So like the peak flow meter, if someone is in a wheelchair or something like that, it makes it more difficult to get an accurate result, because you can't get the tape measure around, and when you sat down, obviously your stomach's in a different shape. Resting heart rate is used to find the resting heart rate of a client. Can be done electronically or manually. Electronically is much more accurate, and with technology today it's much easier to do it electronically. It's best done as soon as the client wakes up, because that is a truer account of their resting heart rate, and can be taken at the same time as blood pressure with most blood pressure machine involvement. So the normative data, age and gender play a big part in normative data, so the same as the peak flow, however it doesn't look at a person's height. That doesn't change. So any score in the poor regions on these charts should be referred to a GP. However, I actually found sources that say if it's over 100, it should be referred to a GP, and anything below that is just at risk, doesn't need referring. So strengths and weaknesses: because you do it on an electric machine, there's no human error involved. It is done with a blood pressure machine. There's no having a count or anything like that. It can be done manually, but then that does involve more human error. Cannot be done alone, because putting the cuff on everything will raise your heart rate. You want to be physically resting, it's a resting heart rate. Moving around means you're not rested. Can be affected by diet if someone takes caffeine or has an energy drink or anything like that, or has a high sugar intake for the day. That could be heightened, and there's also medication that affects heart rate as well. But the machine is portable, it can be done throughout the day. However, it is very sensitive. Talking throughout having it done, or other things, coughing or sneezing can change the results massively. Blood pressure. Again, use to test someone's blood pressure and can help to highlight people with high or low blood pressure. So the client would sat upright with their arm supported. Their arm has to be supported so the muscles aren't tensing or anything like that, they want to be relaxed. The cuff should be attached tightly above the elbow joint, not on the joint, with a cord running down their arm, so it means the reading happens in a straight line rather than around all over the place. The client should be sat with the legs uncrossed and stay quiet the whole time to make the test as accurate as possible. The client should be informed they may experience a little discomfort as the cuff in place. This is probably the most intrusive of the tests, as they're not doing it themselves. You're applying the cuff and it feels uncomfortable. It's a different feeling. Once the cuff deflates, the blood pressure reading will be on the screen and you can mark it down. So the normative data for this one, the same for male and female. It doesn't differ with age or with gender or anything like that. The systolic reading should be between 90 and 120, and the diastolic reading should be between 60 and 80. Any higher or lower should proceed with caution, and most resources agree that over 140 or over 100 should be medically referred to a GP, because that is high blood pressure. So some strengths and weaknesses: it's a very accurate reading without human error, the same as the resting heart rate test. It is difficult to replicate, however, because different factors affect things: the position the person sat, how supported their arm are, whether it's the left or right arm, big effect, or maybe someone just wearing a watch can affect results. Can be affected by stress, diet and position. So different days, people could have different stress levels, could have eaten something different. Same as the waist and hip, if someone's eating something, it can affect the results there as well. It cannot be done alone. You have to have someone there doing it with you, so you can't just get up and do it yourself, because again, that increases your heart rate. Hard to get a true reading if the heart rate is increased. So not many people, unless you're in hospital, get an accurate reading of this because they've got up and had to do something throughout the day. They're not have a true resting heart rate. They haven't been sat down for a good half hour resting properly. It can be affected by medication, again, the same as the resting heart rate. And again, it's a portable machine, so it can be done throughout the day. So 1.2 and 1.3, produce a health screening questionnaire to be completed by 2 contrasting sports people and then evaluate the responses to the questionnaire. So the 2 people I picked were actually sisters. We have Sophie, who is a competitive cheerleader and is a few years younger than Faye, who is an event rider. So Sophie is a person who does team sports, whereas Faye does an individual sport, riding a horse. So the results of the PAR-Q, tick no to everything, they were okay to continue. Both had very similar diets. The only thing that stood out really was the fact that Sophie snacked more throughout the day, eating more crisps. Faye is a little heavier or a little shorter. That could be down to the exercise that they both do, with both of them doing over 10 hours a week, but if you look at what they've actually written on there, Sophie's is more